Carter again. I'm making this video just more as a remembrance for me of how little baby Carter, little he is, because I don't know, we're thinking about, family planning, more kids, and I never want to forget how small they are. He's 10 weeks and 1 day old. Yesterday was 10 weeks exactly. And he's honestly just a ball of, I won't say energy, but he's very alert for a 2.5-month-old. Everyone tells us that. And he might throw up in this video. So just keep an eye out for that. Like, he just ate, that's why. But some things that I do want to tell myself in the future, just be patient with yourself. You give yourself a very little credit for how much you are doing. In motherhood, the transition from womanhood to motherhood is not an easy one, and I think many times everyone forgets that. Husbands forget that. Family members who have older kids forget that. So again, just keep that in the forefront. And what else? So I guess that would be the first thing, is be patient. And two, keeping up with the breastfeeding journey. There was no reason. I gave up entirely too soon breastfeeding him because we got on the pumping schedule, and of course pumping is easier because you put it in a bottle and they'll take the bottle but then won't latch again. And again, with having patience with yourself, going from breastfeeding the first couple weeks to pumping was easier, but then the more alert, as he gets older, he's more alert and awake more often, which leaves less time for pumping, versus when he was 2 weeks old, 4 weeks old, a month old. He would sleep all the time, and that gave me ample time to pump maybe twice during one of his snaps alone. So keeping up with the breastfeeding journey is definitely something that I want to do next time around. That's actually a huge one, and I would say I suffered a lot of mom guilt for that, because everyone tells you breast is best, but that's something I've already made peace with that with myself, of fed is best overall. So he's looking at this Coke can down here, like he loves bright colors, and obviously Coke can boxes are bright red against the bland Italian walls. You guys see the background. So that's two, is breastfeeding, keeping up with that, because there was honestly no reason that I could not have kept breastfeeding other than not having patience with myself. And you'll learn a lot about yourself during motherhood, especially going from no children to one child. And I took the easy way out of, oh, he's not latching, but a pump, just pop that sucker on. And then to formula, if you have a WIC, they'll give you a certain amount of food, and that you don't have to spend, everyone tells you, oh, I spend $200 alone on formula. We spend $50 a month, because again, my husband's in the military, so on one income alone, because I'm not allowed to work in Italy because of the SOFA agreement. So you guys can look more into that, or I don't know, maybe talk more about that later. But that is one of the major things. So we're not spending as much. So again, that was another argument of breast is best, but also cheaper. However, it's still, yes, $50 a month, but it doesn't seem like much. So that's that. What else? Changing him in a midnight feeding, during midnight feedings, like the 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., when he was on that every 2-hour schedule, feeding him in bed. So waking up earlier, when he starts fidgeting and trying to wake himself up, that's when you should get out of bed, not when he's crying super loud because he's already reached that point of hunger. Learning your child, everyone will tell you, Pinterest will say it, mommy blogs will say it, everyone's telling you to learn your child, and it wasn't that easy for me to distinguish cries. For me, it was getting him on a schedule, so then I will know, okay, he hasn't eaten in 2 hours because he was sleeping. That's a hunger cry. Or I just changed his diaper, but I hear him grunting, that's a poop cry. It wasn't necessarily learning his cries that are different from each other. It was learning, this is the schedule that he's on. That's what he's gonna be crying because of. Sometimes you'll have an outlier if he just wants to be held. I know when he got his 2-month shots 2 weeks ago, he was very fussy. He didn't have a fever at all, thank God. His shots, he reacted very well. I did give him children's Tylenol, and that's something that we didn't have beforehand. everyone tells you have children's Tylenol on hand. I guess I was not listening, or that went over my head, mom brain, whatever the case may be. So having medication for your child, and reading the directions for a freaking not a thermostat, a thermometer. Hey, you happy, Papa? Reading the directions for a thermometer and knowing that a rectal thermometer is going to get the most accurate reading. A squirmy baby's not going to let you get back there to to tell all the time either. And what else? He also had cradle cap. He still has cradle cap. And the doctor at 2.5 months just told us that, if you want it to be gone in an instant, use Head and Shoulders maybe 2 or 3 times, and it will be gone by that 3rd time. And so I'm like, doing the coconut oil, doing the massage scalp, scalp massage and everything to no avail. And everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't still have cradle cap at 3 months. I've seen some babies have cradle cap well into 4 to 5 months. So again, every baby is different, but I did do Head and Shoulders on him, and it worked, but it's not all gone. So we have to do it again today, since I want to do every other day, not wash his hair every day, because in northern Italy it is cold in October now. We're expecting snow within the next 2.5, 3 weeks, honestly. It's very different than when we were living in Florida, and you could go to the beach on Christmas, basically. So knowing the Head and Shoulders trick for a cradle cap was very important. And asking for help when you don't want to ask. That's another thing of, in the military, because I'm the sole caregiver for our kid, they'll give the service member himself, my husband, 21 days. Him asking for vacation time in addition to paternity leave was something that we're going to do next time, because you think about it, 21 days, you're already for me, it was 3 days in the hospital, and then I had my mom and sister here, and that left, by the time my sister left, John was already back at work, and there was no time for us as a unit of 3 to adjust. He had to adjust with, not that it was a bad thing, but as far as having alone time, that was something that we struggled with, because, thank God my mom was able to be here and help us, and my sister was able to spend her summer here and witness the birth of, her nephew. But taking time, if you can, I know it's not possible, some people have to send, mothers have to send their kids back to, daycare if you're a working mom after just 6 weeks. And I always say, I can't imagine sending him to, I'm happy that we have this opportunity for, yes, I'm not working, but to child rear for the 3 years that we're stationed here, because I can't imagine sending him at 6 weeks to daycare. So him asking for help on his end as far as leave time, but also for me, I know at a certain point I get if I don't have enough sleep, that was one thing that made me just a nightmare to be around, is not getting enough sleep. So that was a huge adjustment. But also, if your spouse or partner or whoever is helping you can take them off your hands and do feedings, so whether you express breast milk, or if you're on formula, make them a bottle of, have time to sleep, because now I can honestly say, I didn't know before, I know now why sleep is used as a method of torture for, prisoners, all over the world, because not getting enough sleep will mess with you so heavy, and it affects everything. If you don't get enough sleep, it affects how you eat, it affects your mental health, it affects your behavior, it affects your relationships, it affects your ability to function. Sleep is key to me, I didn't ask to be team no sleep, but obviously, you kind of do having a newborn. And realizing also, I guess one of the other things is, at 10 weeks, he's now starting to only wake up once or twice during the night. Like, he just slept from 7 p.m. until 2 a.m. So you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. That was 8-hour stretch he did, which was magnificent. And then you have until 2 to 5 p.m. when he heard my husband's wake up alarm for work. So seeing him starting to sleep on his own I kind of like shed a couple tears about it because that does mean he's growing up. And even seeing his size of how he used to, if I burp him, his legs are now, touching my mid thigh. Before he could all fit on my chest. And like I said, he's only 10 weeks, but I still miss him in that newborn stage. But I am super proud of his growth patterns. Literally from his height and weight expanding, growing, but also his milestones, like him smiling, him cooing, and I don't know, he's just growing up, and I can't even imagine him starting to walk, because this is all he does all day. Like, this arm strength that I've developed is ridiculous, but this is all his I call him fat butt, fat man's. That's all he wants to do all day is just sit and give the mommy kisses. Give the mommy some kisses. So that's pretty much all we do. Don't bite the mommy's hands. Don't bite. Also, because he's trying to chew my hand, but I told you he just ate. We upped him, so he's 10 weeks one day. We have him on 5 ounces now, and the doctor told us when he was, when he got to 2 months, he's like, okay, how much is he eating? And I said 4 ounces. And the doctor, he kind of looked at me like, oh my gosh, you're feeding him a lot. His ounces should go by his age, which is, he's 2 months, he should be eating 2 ounces every 2 to 3 hours. And I told the doctor, hey, look, if I give him 4 ounces, he's screaming bloody murder once the bottle is done. That's not okay. I'm not comfortable feeling like I'm starving my child, because once he goes to, again, starts to eat, he's not teething. He's 2 months old. There's no signs of teeth coming anytime soon. So once he shows that sign of hunger after 4 ounces, that's when I felt comfortable. I felt bad upping him to 5 ounces, but I noticed he stopped screaming after, finishing a bottle. He's now content, not full comatose, but he's, okay, I feel good. I feel full. I'm satisfied. That's what's not happening when he was on 4 months. So for the doctor, the pediatrician, to suggest that he should only be eating 2 ounces, I was like, you're gonna starve him. His ribs are gonna start showing next. No, I'm not doing that. So that's where I say knowing your child and being able to have discernment as a mom. Because again, when the doctor suggested, okay, you might need infant Tylenol after his shots, I took that advice because he knows about fevers and taking the temperatures and all of that stuff. But when it came to feeding him, I'm in the home with him every 2 to 3 hours feeding him. I know what his hunger looks like. So the doctor couldn't give me the most accurate information when it came to feeding, as opposed to he gave me accurate information. So that's what I mean about having discernment as a new mom and noticing hunger signs of your child. Because your child, you might look at a Pinterest board of hunger cues for a child. Your child might only have 2 out of the 7. Him is tired. Big yawn, Papa. He might only show 2 out of the 7 symptoms, so you might not think your child is hungry or tired, depending on whatever you're looking up. But again, it's your child. You are going to develop that maternal instinct. So that was a big thing of always taking, for me, before I had him, I was always taking doctor's advice. Whatever the doctor said, I was doing it, because in my mind at that point, doctors know best. But after having a child and realizing that I'm responsible for this entity and I know him better than his father even knows him, because again, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do this every single day. That you are the one that knows your child best. So heeding doctor's advice was a big thing. And also taking unsolicited advice from family members who were saying, oh, I've done it this way, you're doing that wrong, you should be doing it like this. Take that BS with a grain of salt, because some people have told me, oh, you should be doing it this way, this is how my child turned out. I don't necessarily like how your child turned out. Miss Sally, I'm sorry. I'm going to do what I feel is best. Again, I've learned that all unsolicited advice is not bad advice. They feel like they're helping, and in their mind, they probably are. However, I've heard it from you and 10 other family members, 10 other friends who don't even have kids. You know, it's being a new mom, definitely it comes with the territory, and most of the time it's meant with love. You just got to take it with a grain of salt and know that they don't mean any harm by it. Oh, you're just farting. Yeah, also knowing that baby farts, babies burp, well, oh, you stink. Babies burping and sneezing does not all the time, like every single day, does not a bad thing. Like their immune system is immature, and that's one way to, I don't want to say regulate it, but this is a natural occurrence, and it doesn't mean anything's wrong. Doesn't mean, you know, they're sick if they're sneezing. That's just, they breathe through their nose, not their mouth. I learned that too, up until a certain point. Seems getting tired, rubbing your eyes, I mean, you're tired. Like, it's things like, I don't know, you have to pick up on. So I think I'm gonna end this video. I've covered a lot of information about newborns and our journey from taking him home from the hospital to how he's at 10 weeks. I'm probably gonna check in another 2 months because, I don't even think he's gonna be like double in size or something.